A landmark decision. Jehovah's Witnesses prevail in Norwegian court. On March 14, 2025, the Borgarting Court of Appeal in Norway delivered a significant ruling in favor of Jehovah's Witnesses. This decision reversed a previous ruling that had denied the religious group state subsidies and registration as a religious community. The case, centered around the practice of shunning and its potential conflict with Norwegian law, has sparked widespread debate about religious freedom and the limits of state intervention in religious practices. The initial denial of state subsidies and registration, which occurred between 2021 and 2024, was based on concerns that the Jehovah's Witnesses' practice of shunning violated individuals' rights. Shunning, a form of social avoidance practiced by Jehovah's Witnesses towards former members who have been disfellowshipped, raised questions about whether it infringed upon the right to freedom of religion, particularly the right to leave a religious community. The appeals court, however, overturned this decision, ruling that the conditions for denying state subsidies and registration, as stipulated by the Religious Communities Act, were not met. This verdict has significant implications for Jehovah's Witnesses in Norway, potentially impacting their legal standing and financial support from the state. The court's decision has ignited a flurry of reactions from various stakeholders, including Jehovah's Witnesses, former members, and state representatives, each holding differing views on the verdict and its potential ramifications. The case has brought to the forefront the complexities of balancing religious freedom with individual rights, prompting a broader discussion about the role of the state in regulating religious practices. Dissecting the verdict, shunning, state subsidies, and religious freedom, the crux of the Borgarting Court of Appeal's decision lay in its interpretation of the Religious Communities Act and its application to the practice of shunning. The court acknowledged that while shunning could be unpleasant, humiliating, and demanding, it did not find sufficient evidence to categorize it as a violation of the right to freely leave a religious community. Additionally, the court did not find shunning to constitute psychological violence against children, despite acknowledging its potential for harm. This interpretation of shunning and its legal implications formed the basis for overturning the previous ruling. The court's decision emphasized the high threshold of evidence required to justify denying a religious community state subsidies and registration based on potential violations of individual rights. The court's verdict was unanimous, indicating a shared understanding among the judges regarding the interpretation of the law and the evidence presented. This unanimity further underscores the weight of the decision and its potential to set a precedent for future cases involving religious freedom and state intervention in Norway. The decision to overturn the denial of state subsidies has financial implications for Jehovah's Witnesses in Norway, potentially granting them access to funding that was previously withheld. This financial support could impact the group's ability to operate and carry out its activities within the country. A chorus of voices. Reactions to the court's decision. The court's decision has reverberated throughout Norway, eliciting a range of reactions from those directly involved in the case and the public at large. Jorgen Pedersen, a spokesperson for Jehovah's Witnesses in Scandinavia, expressed satisfaction with the verdict, viewing it as an affirmation of their rights and reputation. Pedersen emphasized the group's respect for the Norwegian state and their commitment to contributing positively to society. However, the ruling was met with disappointment by former members of Jehovah's Witnesses, who argued that the court's decision undermines the protection of individuals who choose to leave the community. Jan Frode Nielsen, a former member who testified for the state, expressed concern that the verdict effectively renders a section of the Religious Communities Act dead if shunning is not considered a violation. State representatives also expressed reservations about the ruling. Liv Inga Gabrielsen, representing the state, acknowledged the court's acknowledgement of the potential harm to children, but highlighted their ultimate doubt about it constituting psychological violence. This suggests that the state may not be content with the verdict and could pursue further legal action. The public response to the court's decision has been divided, reflecting the complexities of balancing religious freedom with individual rights. Some view the ruling as a victory for religious freedom, emphasizing the importance of protecting the autonomy of religious communities. Others express concern that the decision may embolden practices that could be harmful to individuals, particularly those who are most vulnerable, such as children. The road ahead, implications for religious freedom and state intervention. The Borgarting Court of Appeal's decision has far-reaching implications for religious freedom and state intervention in Norway and potentially beyond. The ruling sets a precedent for how courts may interpret the Religious Communities Act and its provisions regarding state subsidies and the regulation of religious practices. The Norwegian government is currently considering appealing the decision to the Supreme Court, indicating that the legal battle over shunning and its implications may continue. The outcome of a potential Supreme Court case could have significant consequences for the relationship between religious communities and the state in Norway. The case has ignited a broader discussion about the limits of religious freedom and the role of the state in protecting individual rights. It raises questions about when state intervention in religious practices is justified and the delicate balance that must be struck between respecting religious autonomy and safeguarding individual well-being. The outcome of this case and its subsequent impact on Norwegian law will be closely watched by religious communities and legal scholars internationally. It serves as a potent reminder of the ongoing tension between religious freedom and individual rights, a tension that societies continue to grapple with in an increasingly diverse and interconnected world.